The Hankook 24H at Dubai 2019 for the 14th time at the Dubai Autodrome. Welcome along to a new year and a new season of motor racing, live across the world in sound and vision via the 24H website and radiolemans.com, the Radio Show Limited network of audio channels broadcasting this event as well, of course. As ever, we've been on the air for all of the build-up, and now we bring sound and vision together. And that's what you'll have for exactly, well, the rest of the season as we move on to Mugello in March over the 29th and 30th weekend, and then into April we're at the 12 hours of Spa. 12 hours is also the distance in the Czech Republic at Brno on the 24th and 25th of May. 5th, 6th and 7th of July to the south of Portugal at the circuit of Portimao for a 24-hour race. Then Barcelona and its normal date at the end of August and the beginning of September, and we finish off with our run to the land of the free, the home of the brave. Not Scotland, no, it is the United States of America, 15th, 16th and 17th of November, and that will end off the season and the championship of the continents as well. A season that it has the season stretching out ahead of us, but our first venue here in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Originally it was fishing and trading that brought people to this area. The malls are now rather shiny than more built up than the souks were, but the Autodrome here has always been a great host for this event. Johnny Palmer and Paul Trustwell alongside me, John Hindhaugh. Down in the pits, it's Nick Damon and Bruce Jones. And let's head down right there now and have a check-in with Nick to find out what the weather looks like. Nick, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, John. Good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's a fabulous January morning, afternoon here in Dubai. The sun actually is beginning to go over the yard arm, so good chance for a couple of gins later. And I think by the time we finish the second qualifying, following this one for the GT cars, we will have almost a bit of long shadows, not quite darkness, but it's very pleasant, it's very warm. All of those you listening and watching in mainland Europe, sorry, the weather's fabulous. Quite an empty pit lane, as you see. The main reason for that being, actually, so most of the cars that came out sneaked off down to the end, turned right, and went for a fuel stop, John. So they picked up some fuel, they're ready to go, about to start this 45-minute session for the TCR cars, TCE cars, and the key point, as Paul's already alluded to, will it be TCR, will it be SP3, who'll be on pole tomorrow at 3?
We've run out of punctuation, quite frankly. Nick Damon, in his usual ebullient style, kicking off the new year. One of the highlights for me always Nick's grid walk here, which we'll see tomorrow morning, or tomorrow afternoon rather, before the race gets underway. The TCR cars that are bound here in the TCE class beginning to get things underway. A couple of little changes you need to be aware of in the Creventic organised FIA International Endurance Series. Numbering has, broadly speaking, changed this year to reflect the classes. And as far as the TCR cars are concerned, they're all numbers in the 100s. So 100 to 188 on my entry list here. SP3s, generally speaking, those will be 300s. GT4s we'll see later on. What else have we got in the TC categories that I'm missing?
A3 all begin with 600.
Thank you, Paul.
And the Cup 1, the BMW Cup 1, begin with 800.
Yeah.
So we've got two BMW Cup 1 class cars, which are 802 and 840 for the Fun M Motorsport and Duvo Racing. And we've got two A3 class cars as well, which are the 600 cars. 603 from GR Motorsport and 634 is the Lotus.
Cars to look out for, I would suggest, the 378, the black CWS Engineering Ginetta. Colin White loves this place. That car's already out on the circuit with its trademark white wheels and the yellow CWS branding. The circuit here, unchanged, originally planned as a Formula 1 venue, and up until recently still had its Formula 1 testing licence. It would get that back immediately if it wanted to do so. And Johnny, an intriguing mix of fast straights and quite technical corners, some of which are pretty quick and require quite a lot of commitment.
Yeah, there are different themes to different parts of this 5.3 kilometre circuit, and I was only made aware of that a few minutes ago when I went into one of the rooms this weekend, which is actually a cafe, but it doubles as a briefing room, I think, the rest of the year, and it displays the Grand Prix circuit that we're using this weekend, but then all the other configurations that you can run. There's an oval circuit top left on the track map. There is a hill circuit top right, and the hill circuit is because it's so much up and down.
I've driven that in a school single seat around here. It's great fun. I'm
not talking up and down to scale of Cadwell Park, for instance, or the Nürburgring, as we've already got drama for one of the two Lotus in the A3 division.
633 is the green and yellow car, the Lotus, evoking the Lotus 25 of the early 1960s. It's an Italian team that run these cars. Its team car is the 634,
which has also potentially got
going
drama
slowly as well. That car in the colour scheme that started off the sponsorship revolution in motorsport in 68, although the Lotus 49 debuted in 67 and ran through in slightly evolved forms into the early 1970s. I think 1971, Paul, the 49 was still running.
Monaco in 70, it was certainly running. I don't know if it went any further than that.
So bad news for the squadron of followers for the number 633.
And we've gone code 60 already in order to clear that Lotus, and I was still scratching my head as to whether the 634 Lotus had one or two issues. It seemed to be that something was falling off the car. Now, I don't know whether that was just between sessions. Paul's already mentioned this earlier on today, that we get the very, very fine dust from nearby drifting across the circuit, and it takes a little bit of cleaning. Even between sessions, you get that fine film that needs clearing at the start of the session. But that car was put out on brand new Hankook tyres, the stickers still visible on the rear left corner, and the problem for Lotus number 633, not immediately obvious, but there is a recovery vehicle with that car now.
I think it is without fire in the parts of the engine that require that kind of controlled explosion.
It's over at turn 2, so I'm pretty sure it was the out lap for the Lotus.
No, that was its out lap. You're right, Paul.
Didn't get very far around that lap, and so now the dilemma for the other teams is, do you stay out or do you come in? Well, I think the answer probably must be, you've got a 45-minute session, just come in and look the car over, because you're not going to achieve anything by being out there. I suppose the only reason for staying out is if it does go green, then you're in a better position to put in your banker lap.
The only thing I would say, Paul, is a relatively easy tour for the 633 Lotus to be pulled out of the way.
Correct.
And onto that hill circuit that Johnny was talking about, and then we'll get some green flag running before it gets delivered back to the pits, because it doesn't have to be towed all the way around the track. The options on this circuit are myriad, and as Johnny was mentioning, the hill circuit is one of them, and he's right next. I mean, he's still got the stickers on the Hankook tyres, hasn't even burned those off, as the Ford F-150 safety pickup truck drags that Lotus through the shortcut, and he'll pop out a goodly way around the circuit, somewhere near turn 14, and then steer driver's right all the way into the pit lane, which is on that side of the circuit, and it'll be delivered back to the front of his pit garage, Paul.
Other things to look out for, you were suggesting, yes, we can look out for the Colin White Ginetta to set a fast time. Colin White himself is at the wheel of it at the moment, but another one that catches my eye is the Baz Kooten Racing Audi RS3. We've got Antti Buuri at the wheel of the number 129 car, beg your pardon, the 129 car, and Antti, very, very quick driver indeed. I say he's wasted in the TCR section. That's probably not fair, but he's certainly very quick, and as soon as he's given the opportunity, I'm sure he'll be setting a quick time. Ivo Breukers is in the Ivo Breukers is back. He's in the 101 Red Camels, Red Camel Jordans.nl Cupra. And Ivo, having recovered from a rather energetic leap into a swimming pool back at, or the middle of last year, really, just about now walking without too much of a limp. And he says as long as he doesn't overdo things, he's fine.
He was like a cat on a hot tin roof at Corta, at the Circuit of the Americas. He was not happy. He said, "Oh, I thought I'd come just to watch." It was a bad decision. I think he'd have been better off staying at home, actually.
He was like a dog without a tree.
He was. He didn't know where to put himself. And he was just basically not happy being
the only
at
reason,
the track.
Yeah, the only reason the team didn't go was because they were waiting for the delivery of this new Cupra. But also, he said, none of his team could get the time off work. And you kind of overlook this, that so many teams, even as big a team as Red Camel, relying on part-time workers to do the mechanicking.
Let's go down to Nick Damon, who has a stalwart of Creventic FI Endurance Series racing. Baz Kooten running multiple cars again this weekend, Nick.
Baz, not making it easy for yourself this time, are you? Not only have you got the two cars out now in the 129, the 125, which are enjoying green flag running, you're also running a Porsche as well. Let's start with the TCR Cars. Any change from the cars you were running last year?
The normal changes, and of course, yeah, the adjustments for Dubai. It's getting more hot here than in Kota. Yeah, TCR for us, we are well known with this. We're experienced, and we go again for a 1-2.
You haven't got the NKPP car here, but the Finnish special's still around. So talk us through your two teams.
The 125, it's a team, 2 guys from Switzerland and 2 Dutch drivers. And fast drivers, Tcr Germany drivers. Also champions in Holland, Ford Fiesta Cup. The 129, of course you know them, the LMS Racing. This time they drive their Audi RS3. Of course with the 3 Finnish drivers, experienced good results in the past. And then the NKPP, yes, not here with their green TCR Seat Cupra, but this time with a beautiful 991 GT3 Cup.
Just make it more difficult. So, you've moved from the Volkswagen to the Audi then with the Finnish team?
No, they had a Cupra. They had a Cupra, and now they have a
Cupra. Audi, sorry. They're all the same family. It's all VAG.
That's it. Even Audi is the VAG. It's the same car. Actually, it has another body, and it's some more expensive as it has 4 rings. It's more safe. That's true. But further on, same cars, so there's no issue about having parts. We have a lot of stock parts.
But the Audi, though, the Audi is a booted car, so it's got a different profile. Is that very noisy car? Is that an advantage aerodynamically to have a boot?
Yeah, for aerodynamically wise, yes. But the drivability is some more difficult compared to the Cupra. The Cupra is actually a more gentleman's friendly, an all-man's friendly car. The Audi is more sensitive compared to track conditions, driving conditions, etc.
Thanks, Baz. That means I'll have to drive the Cupra then, being an old man and an amateur. Thank you.
That's better for you.
I've seen you trying to get in and out of racing. In fact, it was this street car version of a race car that I saw you try to get in and out of at the Toyota Museum, Nick, and I'm not sure you want to put yourself in the position. Not with your shoulder. Oof, no, absolutely not. Nick Damon, or his calf, which he's still struggling with as well. Nick Damon with Baz Cooten down in the pit lane. Early times coming in, Paul?
Baz Cooten is fastest, and dare I say it, Anti-Buri told you so. 2 minutes 11.455 is the fastest of them. Colin White in the Ginetta, second fastest. Told you so. 2 minutes 12.272, 0.8 of a second slower. And then third fastest, car I didn't mention, Team Dynamics Audi RS3.
How dare they get in there when you didn't mention them?
Only because I didn't get a chance. Jake Giddings, and he's gone very well indeed. 2 minutes 12.318. He's just 500ths of a second slower than Colin White.
Jake Giddings, I know that name. Johnny, British Touring Cars, Sports, something like that?
Possibly Sports, yes. British GT.
British GT, maybe that's where I got it from.
And friends of all those at Dynamics, I guess, although he won't have raced in the BTCC before. Wonder whether he may have done some mini challenge for that team, who have run Will and Henry Neal for a couple of seasons. Yeah. Neal NEAL, because they are both sons of triple BTCC champion Matt Neal.
Interesting, you should mention the mini challenge. They've just been confirmed as a support series to the British Touring Cars for 2019.
Because it is the 60th or 70th anniversary of the mini this year.
59.
So how many is that? That's 59 to 60th anniversary of the mini this year. That's one of the reasons why that has been given that gig.
So is that just a one-year gig, replacing the Clios? Because the Clios get a new car soon.
We'll see how well the Minis do. I mean, mini racing is the best support racing you can have for any form of racing. And if you want to get people out of a touring car meeting, then put a mini race on afterwards, because it'll all the obs will go home after the touring car race, and all the proper race enthusiasts will stay for the mini race.
I used to like watching the classic touring cars when that was on. That kept everybody there. Interesting that Renault Clio disappeared from the British Touring Car Championship, but Renault are still supporting all of the current make series around Europe at the moment. Colin White pushing on in the 378, the black Ginetta.
Goes fastest.
Finest.
Goes fastest, 210.774 for
He's
Colin.
hanging it out, Paul. He's got the back end of that car moving around in that G55.
I wish we could have a microphone in his helmet, because he'll be going way as he goes round.
He might be saying other things than that as well. I'm not sure. He's not sure we'd be able to broadcast everything. Had a big slide coming through turn 5 into turn 6. It's a sinuous opening to the track, downhill into the first corner. Difficult to pick your braking spot and get the car turned in. Then a little squirt. Oh, huge slide at the end of the back straight. Now heading back uphill again towards 12th, which is another hairpin.
How many A's in Wahey?
Lots. So he's really torturing those rear Hankooks with that V6 Ford-derived engine in the front, remember, of that G55. Paddle shift. A very, very well-balanced racing car with a tube frame, not a monocoque chassis. Really a design that we see in very many road cars, although you can get road-going versions, but these were all built as racing cars. Now coming round to the end of the lap. 2 more corners for Colin White. He's had a clear lap, but has he been sliding around rather too much? Into the final corner. Oh, gets it squirrely on the brakes. The car slipping across to the left before he darts into the right-hander at the final lap and onto the start-finish straight. Right underneath us, he crosses the line. Now...
lost half a second on that lap, so it didn't improve.
Yeah, but it looked fantastic.
It looked good, absolutely. That was more important. And a new second-place car, and in fact, a new third-place car as well. So Yannick Mettler in the Autorama Motorsport VW Golf has done a 2 minutes 11.20. Sorry, 2 minutes 10.966. 2 minutes 10.966. That's 0.2 of a second slower than Colin White has gone. But Yannick Mettler then, this is car number 112, the VW, has gone second fastest. And Vincent Rademacher at the wheel of the AC Motorsport Audi RS3, number 188, has now gone third fastest with a 2 minutes 11.095. Jake Giddings has improved as well to 11.102. And Antti Bury, I lauded him too early, is down to 5th now with car number 129, the LMS Racing Baz Kooten car, with his time that he set a little while ago, 2 minutes 11.427, which was quickest of all when he set it, but he's now only 5th fastest. So we've got an SP3 car top, and then 9 TCR cars filling the remainder of the top 10.
Hearing from Josh that there's speculation there may be a mini team in British touring cars next year. And by that, it doesn't mean one that's very, very small, just run by a single person.
Next year or this year?
This year, yeah. Okay. Accelerate, I think, are going into British touring cars. They organised the mini challenge, but I don't think they're going to be running mini. Let's go. I think they're running MGs this year. Let's go to the 633 squadron down in pit lane. Nick Damon is looking at the engine compartment of a Lotus, which can't be good news.
No. Oh, it's turned on again.
It's turned on again.
No, it started and then it stopped. Now, the computer's open. I thought, well, I'll have a quick shift at the computer. That'll tell you what the problem is. It's open on the screen that just says Fault Code Explorer. And there are no fault codes. So they have a blank page of fault codes. It looks like doing that worst thing of all, and certainly with a Lotus, which is tracing an electrical fault. They obviously lost all ignition, which is why the car stopped out the track. It's absolutely perfect. There's no oil leaks, no driveline problems. So they are now searching for what electrically is causing the car not to run properly, and they're not being helped by the Fault Code Explorer, which is reporting no faults.
Well, you see, you need to run a fault diagnostics on the Fault Code Explorer. That's what needs to be done at the moment. Out on the circuit, the 133 Cupra. Now, we do have to call them Cupra. Well, we don't have to call them Cupras, but we should call them Cupras. At the moment, Seat have spun off the Cupra name that was, of course, the signifier of the more sporty version of what was already VAG's sports brand. But this is now a sub-brand in much the same way as DS is with Citroën, and the Cupra with Versions of cars that you would normally say a Seat badge on. However, talking to the guys at Cupra, there will be some Cupra-specific models coming in that model line. We've already got a little crossover as well, and expect to see some Cupra-specific cars coming out in the next year or so. the teammate to the stricken 633 Lotus back out. That's the 634. That's the red, white and gold car. That's going back out onto the circuit. Remember, this is a good long session, so you don't have to be pushing yourself too hard. Just on under half an hour still to go. 27 minutes to go, Paul.
An opportunity with the TCR cars out to point out if you're at the circuit or if you're seeing the numbers on the sides of the car on the stream as well. In addition to the race number, the actual entry number on the side of the car, you'll see a lit up panel, which is the position of that car in the race. And obviously, because we've got touring cars out at the moment, that is the positions in the qualifying session.
Yes, it's a good thing. That is overall. That's not within class.
Well, it's overall within their division. So within tomorrow's 2 races, which will have touring cars as one division and GT cars as the other division, the blue LED lights will indicate the position of all the touring cars within the touring car class, but including, of course, the SP3s, the A3s and the Cup 1 class
I think
cars.
they're green, actually, Paul.
Are they?
Yeah, on the...
When you look out of the window, they're kind of bluey green. Cyan is probably the correct colour, isn't it?
Okay. Well, the 188 at the moment has the number 1 on it. So is that top of the shop?
It is. Vincent Rademacher has put the AC Motorsport Audi with a 2 minutes 10.339, fastest of all, and he's done 2 laps in that bracket as well. He's done a 2:10.339, followed by a 2:10.386, both of which are faster than anybody else. So
I think I saw Vincent Rademacher, the Belgian touring car ace, with his name alongside a fantastic PR effort by Jaguar at the Clermont-Ferrand circuit, where they closed the roads and then they opened the link road back onto the proper circuit. And they went for a run in one of the new Jags. It's on the website if you want to track that down. I think that was Vincent Rademacher that was driving that.
Yeah, on the opposite end of the spectrum, he was at the Formula Ford Festival this year as well, driving a Formula Ford car that he drove in about 1988 or something. Anyway, that's Vincent Rademacher, and having a great time. Still, obviously, very quick, and is carrying the number 1 because he is fastest in the session.
Nick Damon is down in the pit lane early on. Colin White had the fastest time. He's dropped back down the standings at the moment in the Ginetta.
Colin's just said to me, we've got no lap times. I don't know how I'm doing. How's he doing?
He's second.
You're second. There you are, Colin. You seem to be having fun whilst you're out there as well. There's plenty of tail-out action.
Well, yeah, I've only driven the car yesterday for 2 laps and a half a lap today, so I've had a chance to set it up how I like, and it's too lively on the rear end, so we're going to make adjustments and we'll sort that out for tonight.
So you're out the car, so who's got in the car to qualify it now?
Steve Wells.
And is he quicker than you?
We're about the same, so it'll be okay. Yeah.
Is that driver speak for yes?
Well, no, I don't mind if he's quicker. It doesn't matter. Like, as long as we're up near the front, that's okay. It's 24 hours, so we're not here to get it on pole or nothing. We're here to sort of make sure the car is really good for the longevity of it all.
Now, the Ginetta kind of has a checkered history. Either wins or the rear end blows up, doesn't it? Why is that?
Well, over numerous years, there's been things happening in the car, enhancements, etc. We found today we had our fuel pipes were a bit perished. They're only 2 years old, but we replaced them just in case. There was a series of diffs blowing up and half shafts. Well, they've been, well, fingers crossed, engineered out of it now, so that's been dealt with. So as we find the problems, we cure them and go on to the next one. You know?
So full of confidence for getting to the end, at least?
Oh, yeah, we'll finish where we can do. Like, we'll finish.
Colin, thank you very much. Now on the track, the 121 JW Bird Motorsport Volkswagen Golf has stopped on circuit, and it's caused our second code 60 of this relatively short session, John.
Thank you, Nick. Yes, absolutely right. Also, team manager for the number 999 Porsche 991 Cup car from Track Club. Now, that car had an accident this morning, knocked the rear wing off, needed a little bit of remedial work from the Track Club team. Well, their team manager has been asked back to, asked to go to see race control. The car is still in its garage. It's black and white striped, so he may just be being told off for having a ridiculous colour scheme and not having any red in it at all, obviously. it does look a bit like a 1970s Newcastle United shirt. So, I mean, that surely is a 5-minute stop and go right there. I would have said,
worked for a Leicester Storm, didn't it?
Not really.
No?
No, not really.
The Sunderland of that going very well.
The Sunderland McLaren beat it that year with the red and white striped roof.
Don't think either of them finished.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
Going back to green flag running, and the other thing I just wanted to say is, you rightly say, the 633 Lotus still in the pits, having only completed its or not even completed its outlap, commenced its outlap. But the 312, which is the Porsche Cayman running as an SP3 class car, but it is a Porsche Cayman GT4. That car has also not yet been seen. So whether Nick can establish why that car hasn't been seen and whether it's got a problem, because normally this is the only qualifying session. It's the only session they have available to them to set a lap time. They'll be able to do the requisite number of qualifying laps in the night practice session, but in terms of setting a lap time, this is the only session available to them, and we haven't seen 312 at all.
Jake Giddings was part of the Aston Martin Racing Academy. That's where I knew his name from.
He was British GT champion with Aston Martin and Beach Dean in 2014, so certainly knows his Astons, and has done this race a few times, actually. Going back to 2013 was his first year in a little A2 car with Finesse Motorsport, and has come back, I think, every year since then, apart from 2017, but was here last year, again in an A2 division Sicily Motorsport machine. We don't have any A2s here this year.
No, but Sicily are here.
Yes, they are.
Yes.
And I have to remind myself now in what capacity that is. It's not in this bit of the entry.
They're running a GT4 Mercedes AMG.
So we'll see that later.
That's a 462. Jade Edwards running with Sicily in Clio Cup last season, and I did think, I thought I saw Jade down in the pit lane, so if she's here, hopefully she'll come up and have a chat with us and tell us what she's doing for 2019 with her racing career. 603 BMW down to turn 1 with a plethora of LED light bars on the front of that car, the middle one of which seems to be pulling the bonnet up with all of the aerodynamic finesse of a barn door on the front, just above the kidney grille of that blue and white 603 BMW. Paul.
New fastest lap time for Stephen Wells. The Ginetta goes back to the top of the list. So Colin was right to suggest that Stephen was just as quick as he was, because by a couple of tenths he's gone quicker still. So 2 minutes 10.113 puts 378 CWS Engineering Ginetta onto provisional pole position, with 19 minutes of the session still to go. Vincent Rademacher is second with the AC Motorsport Audi. Then Yannick Mettler, who's been driving the Autorama Volkswagen, is third. Aaron Cameron, now taking over the Team Dynamics Audi RS3, is in fourth place. That's the car that Jake Giddings was driving. Jake set the time. And then in fifth fastest time is now Ollie Kangas at the wheel of the car that Antti Buuri set the time in. That was a 2:11.427. That's fifth. And then rounding out the top six is the Teamwork Motorsport, Teamwork, two separate words, Motorsport Audi, and that's car number 100 with the team of Hong Kong drivers currently in the hands of Sunny Wong Yat-Ching.
And Johnny, within that, can you give us the other class leaders, SP3 and TCR? Obviously, the first two that Paul mentioned there, the Ginetta and Vincent Rademacher in the Audi. What are the other class leaders at the moment?
I had concerns for Lotus number 634, but they were ill-founded, because Stefano D'Aste is currently quickest of that three-car division.
Do you think his house is Villa D'Aste?
Must be. It must be. I remember Stefano D'Aste in the European Touring Car Championship, the World Touring Car Championship as well, within BMWs. I was interested to find out whether Stefano did the first ETCC meeting here at Dubai not long after it opened, but although he did race a little bit in that 2004 season, he didn't do the races here in the Middle East. So Stefano D'Asti, the Italian, very, very happy to be here, and his car is fastest in A3, and in Cup 1 it's the Chris Rink-driven 802 BMW. They're all, of course, M235Is.
Now, I'm not an engineer, but I do have a bit of Porsche experience, and Nick Damon is in the 312 Porsche Cayman garage, and even with my limited engineering knowledge, Nick, I know that there's a bit of the car that's sitting behind the car that really shouldn't be at the moment.
It's quite a chunky bit as well. It's the gearbox. That is not in the car. With the mid-engined nature of the Cayman, they've had to take out the exhaust boxes and everything else to get to the gearbox, which actually lives sort of exactly in line with the rear axle in the mid-engine car. Yeah,
basically what you've got in the Cayman, as opposed to a classic Porsche 911, it's engine and it's gearbox then engine in a 911. In a Cayman and a Boxster, it's engine, then gearbox. So that pushes the engine far further back into the middle of the wheelbase of the car.
Well, it's out, and they are looking at it, and they are, by the looks of it, assessing some new bearings. I didn't see it grinding to a halt at all during the practice session, so my guess is they found a problem, got it back to the pits, and now they're having to do some work. No panic. You know, they have until...
It's a Swiss team. They'll never panic, Nick.
Night practice starts at 7, so they've got plenty of time to get it out and back in again before that happens.
Race starts at 3 tomorrow. That's what they've got to aim for.
Well, they need night practice will help get the drivers qualified, but normally, if they have some form of experience, Creventic will give them a waiver on that one. But yes, as the engineers sitting there looking as happy as any engineer are when they have to get a gearbox out and replace it for a mid-engine sports car.
It's the AMAG First Century Porsche Ticino team from Switzerland. Let's stay down in the pit lane, and Joe Bradley.
Yeah, a bit of an issue with the 138, that's the Audi. Now, it's the Team Dynamics, that's the livery on the car, but the name of the team above the door is Mark Cars Australia TCR with WRC. I recognise people, I know, can you believe that? I recognise people from Team Dynamics, from British Touring Cars. Barry, for instance, chief engineer, he's orchestrating whatever's going on here, and there's certainly a problem. They're currently 4th, and they've got a problem with, I'm trying to say, and I don't want to get in the way, but they've got a problem. Their mechanics are under the bonnet, and they are in an area where it's very, very hot indeed. They've got protection around the arms, their arms. I don't know whether it's a leak of some sort, but certainly, I can't really see what it is, but it's a problem that stopped the car. It's in the pits at the moment, and it's not going to take part in qualifying unless they can get whatever it is sorted out. If I do get to the bottom of what it is, that's halted this number 138 Audi. I'll get back to you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe Bradley, the second voice in the pit lane there, as well as Nick Damon, who you saw on camera a little moment ago. Out on the circuit, TFT Kogemo TLRT, the French Audi RS3 LMSD SG. This is the very striking colours of silver, which is the colour that the Audis are supplied in, and then with grey, black and fluorescent green overlay on the top of this car, and sitting in 11th position in this part of qualifying.
Does, just as you were describing the car though, John, to make the point as well that there are some RS3s with the boot and some without the boot, as Nick was talking to Baz Cooten.
All the RS3s have the boot, but they are on the same platform as the Volkswagen and the Cupra, which have a hatchback. In fact, they're all built by Seat Sport. Even the Audis and the Volkswagens are built in the same factory.
I couldn't see that one's boot. I've now just seen that one's boot. That was the problem.
A trick of the livery.
Well, either a trick of the livery, or I've just realised that I'm looking at your screen at a bit of an angle, so I think it may have been the angle that did me. So yes, it does have a boot quite clearly.
Yes, I see what you mean, yes.
But as I say, at certain angles, I thought that was the non-booted version of the RS3, but it is the booted one.
I've spoken to a number of people about this, including a well-known manufacturer about to launch a front-wheel drive 2-litre hatchback to be turned into a TCR car, Mazda. And they have done some extensive testing on whether the boot or the hatch is better. And the general consensus is boot is better for Errol. You get a cleaner run into the rear wing. Just a couple of moments ago at turn 14, that car doing a typical front-wheel drive. The typical front-wheel drive tipped into corners. So the turn 14 being a left-hander, the left rear wheel, well, saving a bit of Hankook wear there, as it wasn't touching the ground for quite some time.
Stephen Wells has gone quicker still. He's still on pole, but having gone quicker still now, he's down to 2 minutes 9.035. And in fact, that is, again, quicker than he went before, because he did do another lap in the 2 minutes 9. So he's now 1.3 seconds quicker than the best of the TCRs. So Stephen Wells losing no time at all in this. Is the CWS Engineering entered Ginetta, car number 378, and is now, say, 1.3 seconds ahead of the best of the rest, which is still Vincent Rademacher's AC Motorsport Audi, and then Yannick Mettler set time in the Autorama VW. That's the top 3. And in Class Cup 1, it's Christopher Rink still quickest in car number 802, the Fun M BMW A3 being led by 634, with the 633 car has come, no, it hasn't come out of the pit since it ground to a halt on its outlap. So that car is still in the garage. The only other car in the A3 class being the GR Motorsport BMW, car number 603, which is otherwise at 2 minutes 40, the slowest of the qualifiers thus far.
So go down to Joe Bradley, who has some news of problems. It's not all plain sailing in this qualifying session, Joe.
I've gone to the bottom of what's brought the number 130. It's still in 4th place in the TCR class, and indeed overall.
The Team Dynamics WRC development car, yeah.
Yeah, it's the loss of turbo boost. Now, it's not as drastic as losing a turbo, because they've rectified the car, so it's been an intake problem. And thanks to Will Neal. By the way, the two Matt Neal boys are easy to see. They are unfeasibly taller than everyone else, and the spit and dabs of their dad, Matt. Ready. And it was Will who told me they've lost boost. They've rectified it. The intake has been sorted. I don't know how they've done it, because it was a very tight area of the engine bay that they were meddling with, but they've managed to get the intake back on, and the car's gone back out. So we'll see if it is indeed just a simple job of the intake rather than the turbocharger.
Well, what's really nice, though, is some of the mechanics have got rid of unwanted tattoos on the inside of their arms as well, as they've burned off the outer layers of skin, which was lovely. Out on the circuit, the 188 Audi. This is a white, black and red car, sitting in 3rd position at the moment.
That's Vincent Rademacher.
In the AC Motorsport car, entered from Belgium. Vincent, proud Belgian as well. There's just something about the attitude of that car, Paul. When you see it going round, you know it's VR in it, because it just looks balanced all the time. It's smooth. And
you know that Baz or somebody is on the radio to him saying, it's okay, it's a 24-hour race, just to make sure you're comfortable with the car, and you get a bit of lap like that all night long. And yeah, I mean, Baz knows how to run these races. He may not be up at the front of the overall field, but he may not be up at the front of the grid, but come the end of the 24 hours, I'm sure we're going to have a Baz Cooten car featuring highly on the podium at least. Nick Damon watching the brilliantly named Fun M Racing Team BMW going back into the pits at the moment. We'll get down to him in a wee while. The colour scheme on the AC Motorsport Audi, Johnny, red and white stripes, always going to attract my attention. Rather midweek motorsport and RSL swooshes on that car, so we've got a lot of reasons to like that one. Very good,
absolutely. And Vincent Rademacher, another reason, I suppose, because he's obviously going to pedal it very, very quickly, but your eye is drawn to that, quite understandably. There are many other cars, though, in the TCR division raring to be the fastest, not necessarily in this session, but they'll all have their own strategies for the race, and it depends very much on their carefully calculated driver combination as well. But 12 cars in this class, as again, very late on the brakes.
And he's just moved up a position to second on that lap as he went across the line. It's literally fingertips on the steering wheel for Vincent Rademacher as he went down the hill, the back end of the car just getting away from him a little bit. The car looks quite edgy and really dangling the right rear wheel through turns 4 and 5. Now through turn 6 and into the long, it's a 180-degree, almost like a ball corner at turn 7, heading onto the back straight. And pick a line, any line there. But what you want to do is get on the power early, and with a front-wheel drive car, if you're slightly too early, it'll drag you to the outside of the track, and then you'll have to lift off and go back on again. It'll kill your entry onto that back straight. But of course, Vincent didn't do that. He was perfectly clean early on the throttle, already at the end of the back straight, and the tightest corner on the circuit. The right-hander that heads uphill into a left sweeper where you come from the middle of the road. Now climbing, still climbing up to our far right of us where the new hotel has been built. Nasty double apex right-hander that crests a brow just where it unsettles the car, and if you're in a rear drive car, probably a short shift there. Now tearing down the hill through the kink, through 13 and towards 14, all the way out to the right-hand side of the circuit, then drags it back. Now, does he favour just letting the car breathe in the middle of the corner? Yes, he does, almost making 2 corners out of turn 14. Now over the rise at 15, taking all of the curb on the inside, straighten the car out, coming towards the final corner, the right-hander, big dab on the brakes and brakes all the way up to the apex of the corner as he turns in from about 75 metres, running across the curb on the exit. And this is another good-looking lap with 0 traffic to worry about. And as he goes across the line, Paul, has he improved that 188?
It was 4 tenths slower than his previous, so he stays second, but his gap to Stephen, well, I say Stephen Wells, it was Stephen Wells at the wheel of the Ginetta, but that Ginetta has now been handed over to Angus Fender, and the gap to the 378 Ginetta is down to 0.5 of a second only, 0.536 separating those two. So the battle is still on between TCR and SP3, and the other car to be looking out for from Baz Kooten is Antti Buuri, who's got back into the 129 car. Ollie Kangas drove a few laps in the middle, but now Antti Buuri is back into the car. He's just gone as fast, not quite as quick on that last lap he's just completed. The previous lap, though, a 2 minutes 10.719 for Antti Buuri. Puts him back into 4th. He was down in 5th. He's now back into 4th place. And the Team Dynamics car, Joe's done good work, sent it back out again. James Kay at the wheel, and that is now up into 5th place. So 138, the Team Dynamics Audi, 2 minutes 11.102, thanks to James Kay's efforts, puts the car up into 5th place overall, 4th in TCR within the TCE division.
And Jim Cato is just behind James Kay in the 122 KCMG Honda. I did wonder whether Team Dynamics might plump for the Honda at some stage. They're here with an Audi RS3 this weekend, but obviously synonymous that are Team Dynamics with Hondas and of various different profiles as well. But the FK7 looks particularly smart this weekend in the KCMG livery with the mainly white body but with the blue detailing on it, and it's a livery carried by the 2 Nissan GTRs as well.
Just getting a glimpse on the screen there of the 101 Cupra. Ivo Broikers behind the wheel of that car. He's driven it throughout this qualifying session, which is less than 4 minutes before the checkered flag, interrupted slightly by those 2 code 6s. But Ivo's best time has been a 2 minutes 12.419, which leaves him 8th overall, 7th in the TCR class.
I do like the look of these TCR cars. Going to have probably in the region of 12 to 15 of them in the Pilot Challenge in IMSA this year, with Hyundai joining in. Honda, I think, had 5 cars at the test, as well as the associated VAG Group cars. No Seats, of course, no Cupras in the US Championship because they don't sell cars there. But, and Nick Damon will be very happy about this, there was an Alfa Giulietta. The 634 Lotus still out on the circuit. The former racing, Lease Cup racing car. A little bit of work done on it to make it endurance ready. But the guys from the team telling us earlier on, in a fantastically passionate Italian way, about how the Evora would be the better car. That's the that runs with the Toyota engine from memory.
Well, so does that, I think. It's got some Toyota bits on it, certainly.
It at least runs with a Toyota engine as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. I was reading a little bit about this Elise Cup.
Thought it was a K-Series in that.
Not that. No, I don't think so. Further back it was.
All right, okay.
But, well, that's something to investigate.
I bow to your Lotus knowledge.
Well, I've just do a little bit of reading here and there, but I was reading about an Elise Cup 260. These are called PBRs, which I can't find anything on the internet about. I don't know what the PB stands for.
Is that the racing team?
No, that's the make of the car. It's a Lotus Elise PB-R, a bit like GTR. But it's a 1.8 litre 4-cylinder, I think, and therefore could well be the supercharged Toyota. It might have a Toyota gearbox as well.
Lotus PB Racing. So I'm suspecting that PBR is their modifications.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yes, that would make sense. But yeah, if anybody from our pit crew could do some investigating, maybe tomorrow at this stage, but I'd like to know what sort of engine is in that, and also things like gearbox.
Diffuser was one of the modifications, of course, that Joe was telling us about before, the aluminium diffuser. Paul?
Just so we've got a minute of the session remaining.
Time flies.
So, doesn't it just? Just a word of explanation. Some of you may have been looking at the excellent live timing on the on 24H series website. There's a column there which has been turning red occasionally when Stephen Wells or anybody driving the CWS Engineering Ginetta goes quicker. The theoretical time turns red during qualifying. Doesn't actually matter that it turns red during qualifying. If it turns red during the race, again, it doesn't actually matter. All it will mean is that they get less fuel at their pit stops thereafter. This is the very clever Creventic dynamic balance of performance that they use. They're not intending to make the cars slower through balance of performance. All they do is say, drive as fast as you can, and we will then control how far you can go on a tank full of fuel by restricting the amount of fuel you put in at your next pit stop, which I think I have to say has worked very well, although Colin, I think, has gone on record as saying that he finds it a bit frustrating because the better he goes, the more often he has to come in and make pit stops. But anyway, checkered flag is now out, so it does look like Colin White's SP3 class Ginetta is going to be on pole position unless anybody else can do anything whilst the flag is out. Time's still being taken.
Just a quick hello and good morning. Very early in the morning where Owen Trinkler is in Nashville, current champion in that pilot challenge that I was talking about earlier on with TGM, Ted Giovannis Motorsport. He said, separate qualifying for the classes? Yes. Two different races here, Owen. TCE have their own championship, that mainly the touring car style classes, TCR, some other touring car classes, and one or two cars that are a bit GT in their look, but don't really fit in with the speeds of the GT categories. And then slightly more GT cars will go out in the GT session, which will follow along at the moment. We wish you all the best in the defence of your championship with Hugh Plum, which starts on the Friday of the Rolex 24 Hours at Daytona weekend, and you'll be able to see that live in sound and vision wherever you are in the world, all of those races. We have audio coverage on RS2 IMSA radio, and we'll also have sound and vision for those as well. Just coming to the end, let's just see this car across the line, the Team Dynamics 138 back out again. No, it's come straight back into the pits. It wasn't going to improve as the 378 CWS Ginetta goes through into turn one. That car looking very good indeed, even though the back end is a little bit lively, according to Colin White. Let's go down to Nick Damon in the pit lane.
And Ola from Creventic has just given him the celebratory hat for being on pole. It's Steve Wells who set the time a bit faster than Colin, so you must be quite pleased about that at least.
I'm very pleased, especially the way Colin knows the car so well. To being able to get a couple of seconds quicker was good.
Colin said he thought the car was a bit loose, but no problems for you?
It was a little bit loose, but that's the way I like to drive the car, so it was good. It was good fun out there.
Now, give us a bit of background. This is your first time at Dubai. You're an old hand.
I did it last year. I did Portimao and Barcelona, so I've got a couple of 24s down now.
Congratulations, I think Ola wants to take you away. Thanks, Steve. Cheers, man. Thanks, Steve. That's Colin White racing the 378, the pole sitter for the TCE race and the fastest in SP3.
Fastest in TCR, Vincent Rademacher. Joe Bradley is standing down by the Audi and by the famous Belgian. Joe.
He's going to share the front row with Colin White's Ginetta. Vincent, not quite on the pole for TCE, but it's a class pole, and you are on the front row.
Yeah, like last year. It's exactly the same as like last year. The Ginetta is, it's not the same car, of course, it's not the same category, but on speed it's quite close, so we expect always to beat them, but they are a bit, they have the edge on the qualifying run. And but I'm happy with TCR pole. We run a different gearbox this year because we were with a sequential gearbox last year, which on performance is better, but on reliability is a bit an issue on the car for 24 hours, I mean. And so we changed to DSG, and normally it's slower on lap time, but we are quicker than last year, so it's sure that we works well on the car, on the setup, and the car is working well. The team did a very good job on the car.
Thank you, Vincent. Well done.
Half a second, the gap between the Ginetta G55 and the AC Motorsport number 188 Audi. And then 7/10 back to the Autorama Motorsport by Wolf Power Racing, the Volkswagen Golf, number 112. Then Baz Coutin's racing his first car, the LMS Racing 129 Audi. Then Team Dynamics, KCMG, all TCR cars there. So only the top time from a non-TCR car. The whole of the top 10, other than that, CWS Engineering 378 Ginetta G55, all TCR cars. Beyond the top 10, we are looking at the rest of the TCR field and the A3 pole sitter, Lotus PB Racing 634. That, Johnny, is going to be a garage in, well, two very different states. Happy on the 634 side, 633 not getting the laps in there.
No, drama on and out lap, wasn't it? The car was on brand new tyres and they were ready to push for a quick few laps, but it didn't get much further than turn 2 and had to return to the pit lane on a tow rope. Better news for the 802 car, though, which is one of a couple of BMW M235i's in the Cup 1 division. That's the Fun M Motorsport entered crew from Germany. Christopher Rink did a lot of the driving in that qualifying, and a 2 minutes 19.283 gives that car class pole.
Two cars not recording the times, that Lotus 633 and the AMAG First Century Porsche Ticino, Swiss-entered Porsche 312 Porsche Cayman. Remember, that's the car that had the gearbox out in that session. Of course, they're all provisional times at the moment. The cars will have to go through tech, will have to go through scrutineering to have those confirmed. But at the moment, on the front row, it will be the Colin White Ginetta that will be on the coveted pole position for TCE. Coming up next, all the build-up, and we'll set pole position for the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai 2019. And it's all live in sound and vision from Dubai. So just a short break between these two sessions to allow the TCE competitors to get through, get their cars out of the way, and the GTs to come out onto the pit apron. In fact, some of them already doing that. Are we surprised, gentlemen, that only Colin White's Ginetta was in that top 10? Johnny Palmer.
Of the SP3 cars, Yeah, marginally. I mean, looking back at the qualifying from last year, there were 3 SP3 Ginetta G55s, first, second and third. So although Rinson Rademacher said it's the same front row as 12 months ago, not quite. He's translating that front row as being the second row, I think. But we haven't got a Century Motorsport Ginetta here this weekend, nor one from Optimum. So it's kind of gone with form in the sense that CWS Engineering always go rapidly in their G55s. We didn't see in that session the Cayman, which features in SP3, and the other car is the 301, the Vortex Scirocco-shaped GC10, which again is struggling for speed compared to that G55.
Exactly. I mean, I think given the way the entry list is, it's no surprise at all that that's the only car that's got in amongst the TCRs, because the other SP3s just aren't in the same ballpark. The other thing which has happened a couple of years ago is that GT4 has been removed from the SP3 class, so that now runs as a separate class within the GT section.
Now, I realise we're talking GT racing here and endurance racing, but news coming in from around the world that we're trying to keep across at the moment, and this will interest not only endurance racing fans, but also Formula One fans, and Nick Damon in particular. Andres Seidel, the man who was until relatively recently the head of Porsche Motorsport, has been appointed managing director of McLaren's F1 team. That news just coming to us here in Dubai. Andreas Seidel, who was the man behind the success at Le Mans for the 919 hybrid programme for Porsche, then got shuffled rather sideways in the way that oftentimes that happens with Porsche Group. Well, he's now going to be the man charged with the renaissance of Formula One McLaren team. At RSL_studio, by the way, if you want to get in touch with us. And we've got the GT classes to come. Some final thoughts from the TCE, Johnny Palmer. Well, actually, I'll tell you what, let's look forward.
Okay, to GTs, yes, because they're coming out on the apron, and this is where it gets properly busy. I mean, not quite as busy as it's going to be in the race or indeed for night practice, but 55, 56 cars. There are 55 due to go out. We had 57 in the programme. One of those certainly not here, and there were potentially dramas for a second car as well. So 55 lined up on the timeservice.nl website, so we'll adhere to their slightly greater knowledge, but there are some superb driver names about to take part in this session potentially, and the team names run off the tongue as well as far as the history of this fantastic event is concerned. Still relatively short history, just in its 14th year in 2019, but look back at the various winners of this event. No car outside of German manufacturers has won yet, still just the one victory for Audi, and that came a couple of years ago. The Audis have looked strong in sessions so far today, but some very good entries from Mercedes, including those two from Black Falcon, of course, and also Lamborghini Huracans could pose a surprise, because 12 months ago it was a Lamborghini from GRT Grasser that took pole position. With a monstrously quick time, which I've got written down somewhere. You may have it off the top of your head. I think it was a 56 that they got to from Mirko Bortolotti, who was driving the Grasser Lamborghini last year. 56.716 was qualifying. But the other thing I remembered from last year's race was that opening stint was plagued with punctures for the Hankook tyre, because presumably they were going a little bit on the line with camber settings or other setup to try and eke that amount of pace out of there, and surely that's been a warning to them 12 months on to just rein things back a little. There was something that Kenneth Heyer said when he was talking to one of our pit crew interviewers earlier today about staying off the curbs, because the Dubai curbing is a bit fierce as well. Not necessarily because it's sharp or it's particularly high, but because that's where all the dust stays, and it can damage not just the tyre, but also have some impact on suspension. And So is that because of wheel spin then that you're going to get from the dust and that increases tyre wear?
Suddenly seems to cause damage. And certainly Herbert Motorsport are always very keen to ensure their drivers stay off the curbs. Remember when Stadler Motorsport won here a few years ago now in a Porsche, and their car was, they just had to take so much care. But I think the other thing that we've heard from a number of drivers, the fact that we have only 75 potential starters for this race, that's going to mean that you're not going to have to take to the curbs so much, and perhaps you're going to be able to drive at a higher pace for a lot of the race. So yes, stay off the curbs, but also keep out of the way of the other traffic. Except for the next 45 minutes, because the next 45 minutes is all about being absolutely flat out and throwing your rock ape at the car, give him as much red mist as you can. What do you say, John? Hit him with raw meat or something?
Slap him around with raw meat and say nasty things about his family. Paul Truswell and Johnny Palmer with me in the booth. It's the Radio Show Limited team bringing you all of the action for GT qualifying, which starts in just a couple of minutes' time. Who is going to be on pole position for the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai 2019? Who will lead something in the region of 65,000 horsepower to a green flag on Friday afternoon? Well, the honour of that particular position is what is up for grabs in the next 45 minutes. Let's head down to the pit lane. The cars are beginning to move to the end of the pit lane, and our man in vision, as well as giving us some of the news from down there, is Bruce Jones. Good afternoon, Bruce.
Good afternoon, John. I'm standing waiting for a blast of hot air as Indy Doncher will go out into qualifying in the HTP Motorsport Mercedes. Will that bright yellow car be the one that takes pole? Will it be a Ferrari? Will it be a Lamborghini? But for my money, what little I have left is really going with the Audis. They've looked very, very strong this weekend. And may I say, year in, year out, the standard of the GT cars here in the Dubai 24 Hours goes up and up. A factor they've got to consider, it's just after 4 o'clock. The sun is still in the sky, but it's getting lower. The temperatures are going to start dropping soon. The end of this session, it will almost be dark. A little factor, but right now, it's getting clear track. It's making sure you've got your tyres up to temperature, and it's going for the quick one.
Bruce Jones with 60 seconds to go before the green flag is waved, and already quite a traffic jam at the exit of the pits. The cars here, led out by Core Oyster Racing's BMW M3, the venerable team and team owner, and the venerable M3. That's the 717. Nick Damon is amongst that melee.
I love this. My favourite, when I was doing F1, my favourite part of F1 always was morning warm-up. I did mention it before, was morning warm-up, because they would queue, all the 24 cars then would queue up and wait to go what was the world's most expensive traffic jam. Well, this one isn't far off, because we've got about 27 cars. One thing I would say, and this is going to be really key, as we have, I think, what, 52 of these, or 51 or 52 of these GT cars, getting a clean lap, even though they're separated into two halves, it's going to be nothing like an easy thing. And I think luck may end up paying as much a place as who gets that final nth of a second as pure skill and pace in the car. That's
a reasonable thought from Nick Damon, because although we've split the GT and the TCE fields here in their qualifying, there are far more GT class cars here. And as the green flag waves, Core Oyster getting out. Oh, that was a bit sneaky. Out comes the 991 from, I think, from the fuel stop or from their pits on the far end of the pitch. This is the blue and orange 991 NKPP Racing by Baz Coton Racing. The not a TCE car there. Very distinctive colour and colour scheme on that car, but basically came out of nowhere and caught the Baz Coton Racing car a little bit by surprise, and me, quite frankly.
It's Harry Hilders at the wheel of the
Porsche,
and I have a feeling that Harry and Core will know each other reasonably well.
Do you think?
I suspect that it was all, as I say, all fairly good-humoured, and there won't have been any...
What he's just said to Core's guys is, Core, you stick your guy at the front of the pit lane, hold everybody else up, and give me a decent run for a lap in this Porsche, because I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah, this bit of the United Arab Emirates suddenly becomes very Dutch at this time of year, but we love it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
The only thing I would just say, picking up on your point about a number of cars out there, and you're right, 55 cars, obviously the circuit is going to be a lot busier. Getting a clear lap is not going to be as easy as it was for the touring cars. But what I like, and what I like about this entry is because they're all GT cars, they will be closer in terms of their performance relative to one another. So it'll be, dare I say, a bit more like the Spa 24 hours, where you get a whole train of cars all going at the same speed, and actually very little overtaking going on the circuit.
Already making up positions in terms of track positions, having gone out of the pit lane further down the queue, was one of the two Nissan GTRs from KCMG Racing. I think it was the 23 car that was blasting away. Johnny, you will have some driver names for us of these cars that are on their outlaps, and it I'm just being confirmed by Bruce that it was the 23 car. There are some big names out there, and I don't mean long names, although Jerome Blakemolen is both, as is Christian Frankenhout.
Indeed, yeah. Jelmer Berman going through to complete his first flying lap. That's a 207.172. So in the number 2 green Black Falcon Mercedes.
That's the time from the beginning of the session to crossing the line.
Thank you. Okay.
That's an outlap time, so it doesn't actually count as a real lap. If you're looking at the live timing and scoring screen, there's nothing in the best column, but there is something in the last column, so it doesn't count as your best lap.
And there's no time for Sector 1 either, because it was done from the pit lane. However, it is still Jelmer Berman driving the green Black Falcon Mercedes in the metallic green colours, and therefore in the red metallic colours it is Jeroen Blekemolen in car number 3. Christopher Mies is driving the WRT Audi, that's car 7. Christian Frankenhout in the number 10 Hoffa Racing Mercedes, that's an A6 AM car. Jaap van Laken, former World Touring Car driver in the MP Motorsport machine, that's car number... Jaap van Laken, beg your pardon, the number 19 MP Motorsport Mercedes, and the 23 Nissan that you spotted, John, is being driven by Alexandra Imperatori.
Marcus Winkelhock in the bright orange and black number 9 Audi. Easy to spot out on the circuit. He is on his outlap, and he's got that Nissan right behind him with Alexander Imperatori. No stranger, of course, Alexander, to the KCMG team. He's driven with them before in a number of different cars, including prototypes. I think he drove P2 for them, if I remember rightly. Marcus Winkelhock in that BWT Mika Motorsport 31, not in the BWT colours, though that is in the orange colours. Let's take a full lap with Marcus Winkelhock as he comes down to the final corner and turns into the right-hander, just balancing the car in second gear all the way out to the curb, past our commentary box, right at the top of the grandstand, start-finish line. Now down this long straight, get all the way up into top gear and start thinking about turn 1. It's just over that rise. It's there somewhere. And now, just after the 100-metre board, turn in. The Corvette coming right out of the pit lane, right in front and alongside Marcus Winkelhock, up through turn 3 and 3rd. Then short shift to 4th, balance the car, coming towards the chicane. You can take an inordinate amount of curb here, but that car is moving around for Winkelhock as he goes through the first part of the chicane in 4th gear, then down to 3rd. This is turn 6. Get the car tucked in and then back across to the right-hand side of the road before you line it up for the 180-degree left-hander that leads onto the back straight. You can overtake here. Winkelhock is working very hard indeed, balancing that car. He seems to have understeer, then oversteer on the car, the front giving way, then the back. He's getting his air sorted out on the middle of the cockpit. Not sure, maybe that's a brake balance in there, or is it just the air duct? Now at the end of the back straight, all the way down to 1st gear, slowest corner on the circuit, from the middle of the road to the left-hander. Take the curb on the inside. It helps you straighten the car up as you're climbing the hill now. And he's got lots of traffic ahead of him, including Alexander Imperatori in that Nissan. Over the top of the brow, horrible short shift there to kill the wheel script in. Sometimes Imperatori's gone off ahead of him as he's gone trying to get round the traffic. Now down through the flat out kink at 13 into 14. Another long radius corner. hard on the brakes, get the ABS working up the inside of one of the Mercedes GT4 cars that's out there before he comes through. 15 again, pit lane entrance on the right, third gear, fourth gear, and then back down to third as he turns into the final corner, and then finally snatching second right at the apex, and that is a lap. It looked untidy, it looked on the ragged edge, but what was the time for Winkelhock as he got a little bit of a tour across the line from one of the AMGs?
It was 2 minutes 1.071 to make him 5th fastest. So good, but not as good as he would have liked it to have been. I think, to be in the shouting match, you've got to be underneath 2 minutes. And I think the top 15 are all going to be underneath 2 minutes. We'll be into the 58s or the 57s, I would think, by the end of this session. And I mean, what will happen? Nick alluded to this. The air temperature will go down in the remaining 40 minutes of this. And then we'll be in a position where it gets a little bit quicker. I think this session will be one of those that just gets quicker and quicker and quicker. And what you need is to have a good setup car and a car out there right at the end of the session.
Let's keep an eye on the times as we head into the pit lane and pick up some more driver reaction. Qualifying live from Dubai. Here's Bruce Jones.
Mitchell, you're not yet in the 430 BMW M4. Had a problem at the end of free practice. What's going on?
Well, Adrian was out towards the end of the last session. Sounds like he had a suspension failure on the back right. After that, the car had went into a pirouette and just managed to stop. We had to wait for the car to get back after the session. The team have done a really good job so far to get it sorted, I think. Well, so far, we think. I'm going to go out and do a few installation laps, see if everything's up to speed, and go from there, I think. So fingers crossed we got it all sorted. And I've been looking forward to qualifying quite a lot. I think it's going to be a really close qualifying session. So there's quite a lot of good drivers out there. Some people that if I can beat would be really nice, but obviously you never know. So we'll have to wait and see.
GT4 class gets tighter and tighter, real battle, particularly between the Audis, the Mercedes and the BMWs. You've got a whole season lined up ahead in the British GT Championship as well, with a driver slightly older than you, Adrian Wilmot.
Yeah, Adrian, he's doing a really good job. I know a lot of people say age is just a number, but no, he's been proving it this weekend with his speed. Been really quick, and he's been out of the game for quite a while. He hasn't had like a progressive few races in a row, but this is 2 in a few weeks, I think, for him, so he's gradually coming online nicely and getting a feel for the GT4, and when pre-season testing comes, I think we'll get him up to speed in the GT3 as well.
OK, best of luck. Thank you very much.
So qualifying continues to set pole position for the Hankook 24H of Dubai 2019. Late afternoon, coming on to 4:30, just after 4:20. In the afternoon, and this is beginning to get very interesting. Marcus Winkelhock has taken the best time in that BWT Muka Motorsport, the number 9 black and orange machine. That's tangerine, isn't it, Johnny? You've got to be happy with that.
Absolutely, yeah.
That is a tangerine car.
First time something tangerine's won anything for a long time. It's not won anything yet, of course, because there are many Mercedes ganging up behind it. But I'm just pleased, to be honest, that Audi appear to be at the races this weekend. I said It was 2016 the last time they won this thing, and they've only won it once. But this 2019 Evo spec of the R8 clearly able to match at times the Mercedes on single lap speed. It remains to be seen whether they can continue it for 24 hours, of course.
4 cars all in the 1:58, with the fastest of them being that car, the number 9 car from Marcus Winkelhock. I was put off there because, as I was saying, Marcus Winkelhock, my screen flashed up Matteo Malicelli, because he has now gone second in the Scuderi Praha Ferrari with a 1:58.473. So it's Ferrari now second, and Mercedes, best of the Mercedes, the number 3 Black Falcon Mercedes, 1:58.842 in the hands of Jeroen Bleekemolen. Christian Frankenhout now goes into 3rd place, going faster than Bleekemolen. You'll be pleased with that. So the Hoffa Racing Mercedes going up to, well, it was 3rd place, 1:58.743. But no sooner did I say that than Indy Dontje in the HTP Motorsport, the man-filtered coloured car that Bruce Jones was standing by at the beginning of the session, number 25. Now he goes 3rd fastest with a 1:58.599. So we've got half a second separating the top 7 cars. And Yeah, I said 15. We've got 13 cars already in the 159s or lower, so underneath the 2-minute mark. Fastest of the SPX cars is Fred Schandorf in the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini. He's done a 159.747 to lead SPX. In the 991 class, the fastest 991 car is 916, the Race Pro Motorsport with Benny Simonsen at the wheel. Benny's done a 2 minutes 2.636 to be fastest of the 991 cars. Didn't even notice he was in the entry, so well done to him. And in GT4, Phil Quaife is quickest in the Dragon Racing Mercedes GT4, car number 488.
It's back down to Bruce in the pit lane.
I'm with Katrina Kibalova, a driver I'm used to seeing at Goodwood, racing all sorts of things from an Austin Healey onwards, but now you've turned to the model world, GT4 Mercedes. How's it going?
Yeah, it's a little bit different compared to historic racing, for sure. It's quicker, more serious, but loving it. It's very exciting. It's great to be here and do the 24 hours.
Now, obviously, when you race at Goodwood, it's a circuit that has wonderful flow. Do you find the same here?
I think when you do the line ride in Dubai, it's really brilliant circuit, very floating, the sections of corners, very nice, yeah. But you have to get it right, I learned the lesson.
Well, look, best of luck. It's your first toe in the water for racing with Creventic. Hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, I think so, you will. As far, you know, nothing goes wrong and looks like we are competitive and quick, I'm sure we'll be back.
Well, best of luck for the ERC Motorsport team.
Number 11, Ferrari. Bohemia Energy Racing, Scuderi Praha, the Czech team, in what is still, to me, a very, very beautiful car. I'm not the biggest fan of mid-engine Ferraris, much prefer the front-engine cars from a few years ago, but with this one, Ferrari got it absolutely right. They've kind of lost their way again since then, to be honest, for me, with some of their styling projects. Matteo Malucelli currently in 3rd position and heading into the far side of the circuit and then down towards us. Some very evocative cars out here. The Ferrari, bit of a screamer. No doubt about the rumble from the V8 Racing Corvette, Johnny.
And a red letter moment for the V8 Racing Corvette too, because it's now fastest of anybody, a 154.295.
That'd be Nicky Pastorelli in that,
it's
is it?
Duncan Houseman.
Is it?
Yeah, it is, in number 18, so going really well. The Chevrolet Corvette that's got some years on it at the moment. So we were talking earlier on to one of its drivers, a former GT2 car, that's right. I'm also a little perplexed by the times from Marcus Winkelhock's car, because the number 9 disappeared completely from the top 20, and I had a feeling he'd had times deleted.
He did. He had 1, 2, 3, 4 times disallowed for exceeding track limits at turn. He had 2 disallowed for track limits at turn 16 and 2 disallowed for exceeding track limits at turn 5.
16's the final corner, so he's gone too far. 5 is the chicane, and you can gain a lot of time there. Bruce Jones, damaged car already. Looks like there's been contact out on the circuit and it's been pushed back in the garage. What's happened there, and who was it?
It's one of the 2 66 Attempto Racing Audis. That's the one shared by Adrian Amstutz, Patrick Kujala, Matteo Drudy, Kelvin van der Linde and Stanislav Minsky. Front left corner, not as it was sent out. It's just bodywork. The headlight's gone missing. And suddenly very busy down at the Attempto pit. The 99 Audi, which is one of my dark horses for this race. That's looking fine. It's on the apron, but the mechanics running around with the tape and everything they need to get that front corner sorted, ripping bits of the inner side of the headlight away from where it's been hit, away from the wheel arch. I'll leave them to do their work, but just what you don't want when it comes to a quick-fire qualifying session.
The sound of expensive Audi parts hitting the floor. Just a headlight unit there. Is there any damage further back? That's what they'll be wanting to look at in the wheel arch area. Very important aero underneath there. Just under half an hour to go, Paul.
Yes, and Duncan Huysman with the V8 Corvette, V8 Racing Corvette, into the pits with the number 1 on the side of the car, getting a new set of Hankook tyres.
Hang on a second. Can you hear that? That's Corvette Racing Nation all having a bit of a cheer at the moment. Corvette have been getting behind this. If you're not following at Corvette Racing, then you absolutely should. We in the gap between the sessions on RS1 IMSA Radio, playing an interview with Doug Feehan, who's the programme manager for Corvette Racing in the US. And that old GT2 car, Paul, still clearly has a bit of life left in it.
Well, it has that, and it has the tradition, doesn't it? So I think Nicky Pastorelli is probably up the road at the Gulf Racing Porsche team.
Good point.
Yes, in fact, he is. He's currently 12th fastest overall, 9th in A6 Pro, and he's done a 1:59.558. So Nicky Pastorelli, then, in the GPX Racing Porsche, the Gulf-sponsored car, is not driving the Corvette yet, but he is down to drive it at some point during the weekend.
I'm a big fan of LED light bars as a driver who likes to drive in the dark. However, you've got to fit them on with a bit of elegance. the GT4 Aston that we had them behind the front grille, and they were brilliant. We've seen a BMW and a couple of Porsches where they're literally just bolted onto the top of the grille. The Grasser Racing GRT Kermit Green Lamborghini has it beautifully flush fitted on the nose.
Fared in, isn't it?
It's fared in. It's absolutely brilliant piece of installation, as if it was designed to be there. And I love to see that. There's a couple more as in the area where the fog lights or the driving lights would be, more LEDs in there. That is absolutely brilliant. Zero aerodynamic efficiency lost, still get the lighting, Johnny. That is very impressive indeed, and exactly what you expect from somebody like GRT.
Certainly, and they have been instrumental in the development of that GT3 Huracan, so they'll know probably the best place to put that light, and have I'm sure drawn up many sketches to work out how best to install it too. So a nice bit of engineering, which I'm sure has been in development for a few months now, and no stranger to a 24-hour race is a Lamborghini Huracan.
It's the little attention to detail of things like that might just make a bit of difference. You know, that extra drag that if you've bolted it on the front of the engine, the fact that it's, you know, slowing you down on the straight, taking a little bit more fuel to go through.
It's also something that might fall off. You know, if it's engineered in properly, it won't fall off, will it?
Investigation of an incident between the 66, which we've seen in the pits, that was the Audi, and the car number 778. That's one of the SPX runners then, with a 7 in front of it, and that's the Speed Lover. That's a car that's won races and done very well in championships in the past in SPX. The Speed Lover 991 Cup car, they always or often run in SPX. So that was the two cars those were the two cars that came together. Hello to Shea Adam, chilly 52 degrees Fahrenheit in Fort Lauderdale this morning. But the video up on the big screen there, and also to Jackie Warnock, who's in time terms the other way around the world in Thailand for the Asian Le Mans Series in Buriram this weekend, and she's tuned in watching as well. Two of our RSL team for various events down through the years. You'll hear Shea next in our coverage of the Rolex 24 Daytona in a couple of weekends' time, and then she, Johnny and myself taking the long trip round to Sydney for the Liqui Moly Bathurst 12 hours in the first weekend in February, which I'm very much looking forward to, both of those events.
Not envious at all. But anyway, so whilst John and Johnny will be doing that, I'll be looking after the family and
washing down your bath,
making
polishing the Campagnolo
meanwhile,
alloys.
Duncan Huysman hasn't moved, and the one that was on the side of his car saying that he was fastest has, by the magic of telemetry, has changed to a 3, because the two Christophers from Audi, was it true that Chris Reinker only recruited fast drivers called Chris?
It was for a while, yes.
Yeah, so Christopher Mies in the WRT Audi has done a 157.998, a 157.998 for Christopher Mies. So WRT is the first car to get under the 58 barrier. Christopher Haase for Car Collection, car number 88, has done a 1 minute 58.065, just 600ths of a second slower. So that's the reason why the V8 Corvette has gone down to third fastest.
Mies in the pit lane. by the way.
Right.
There are no times, there are no target times anymore for this, Paul.
No, not in GTs. There are in, I mentioned it briefly, in SP3 and in A3. So, yes, we do have those, but they are based on sector time sums as well. So, in terms of this, no constraints at all, other than what the car, the driver, and everything else can do. So Mirko Bertolotti is now the man on the charge. Last year's pole position holder. He's done a 1:58.060 to go second quickest. That's 0.005 of a second quicker than Christopher Haase. So the Lamborghini splitting the two Audis. Then it's the Corvette fourth. Fifth is Marcus Winkelhock, having had times disallowed, but then restoring order by doing a quick enough one. 1:58.3 is the best legal time that Marcus Winkelhock has done in number 9, the Muka Motorsport Audi. The best of the Mercedes, currently only 6th, Jelmer Berman at the wheel of the Black Falcon car number 2, 1:58.403. Then it's Malicelli in the Scuderia Praha Ferrari, 7th fastest, car number 11. 8th fastest is Dennis Lind in the Target Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3. A 1:58.58 for him. Indy Dontje is 9th with the Mann-Filter Mercedes. And 10th, Christian Frankenhout with the Hoffa Racing Mercedes, car number 10 in 10th. 11th is the number 3 Black Falcon car. 12th is Kelvin van der Linde in the number 66 Attempto Racing Audi. And 13th, Alex Imperatori with the Nissan number 23. Going well, but so competitive it is. And in fact, Imperatori in 13th place is the first driver that is more than a second slower than pole position. Shows you just how close and competitive this all is.
Another lap completed for the 63, and that was another quick lap. It was the quickest lap. Mirko Bortolotti now down to a 57.960 against a 57.996 for Chris Mees. So Lamborghini, well, this would be a bitter pill, Johnny Palmer, for Audi Sport Customer Racing, because underneath that Lamborghini, if you look towards the back end and look at the gearbox, you'll see 4 rings, because that's the same running gear as is in the Audi R8 that it's just nicked away pole position from.
Yeah, bitter gall, I suppose, for the Audis with their Evo 2019 spec R8s. We're still not quite to the pace of last year when Bortolotti took pole position for the 2018 version of the Dubai 24 Hours. On that occasion, it was a 1:56.716, so he's still got over a second to find to get down to that margin.
I somehow doubt he's going to make it, to be honest, although there are 20 minutes still to go, and I did suggest at the beginning of the session that it was going to get quicker and quicker as the time goes on, but whether it's going to get a second quicker between now and the end, I somewhat doubt.
What's the regulations on throwing tyres at qualifying and the race, Paul?
As many as you can afford, because this is, although Hankook sponsor the event, they don't give tyres away, and it's as many as you can go and buy, but there's nothing in the regulations that limits the number.
Mark Cars with the VDS Racing Adventures. Mark Cars 2 V8, the 758. Very quick indeed in a straight line. And very quick off the corners too. Quick enough to keep Mirko Bortolotti from making a serious attempt to go by. There are some fabulous...
Am I going to get into trouble if I call that Mark VDS a Mustang at some point?
Very much so, yeah.
It's a Mark Cars 2. It's a Mark Cars Coupe.
But it looks so much like a Mustang.
That's twice you've said it now, Paul.
OK, I'll put 2 dirham in the pot.
It's like
there are some very nice Ford Mustangs out the back.
There are, absolutely.
Including a bright green one, which I really like. And they had the doors open and they have the scissor doors on those. They're full customised cars. And there's a Mustang there in bright green with sort of Group 5 arches on, that's running Ford GT rear lights, the little round donut lights, instead of the 3 piano key lights. There's a white one, there's a couple of nice Camaros. So whoever's brought those across, thank you very much. And if you're here at the Autodrome, have a wander to the back of the main grandstand, because there's all sorts of stuff going on around there. And concession stands a go-go. And some fantastic cars. Lots of people getting their photographs taken in front of some very, very interesting customised cars. Meantime, out on the track, Chris Haase in the Audi, still trying to improve. The 916, 916, I suppose you should say, for a Porsche, is the Race Pro Motorsport 991 Cup car. That's just coming into the pits.
That's Benny Simonson driving that car. And no, he's done a good job, fastest in the 991 class.
Slow-moving Corvette is the number 18. Duncan Heisman behind the wheel of that car. And that car was quick early on, now sitting in sixth place position.
This is an outlap, so obviously Duncan feeling the need to react to these 5 better times, because when he pitted, he did have provisional pole.
Let's go down to Bruce. We'll take a driver interview before Duncan comes round onto his final lap, and then we'll keep an eye on it as we get a little more driver reaction live from trackside. This is the Hankook 24H of Dubai for 2019. Bruce?
Certainly building. We're down in the Team WRT camp, and Mohammed Al Saud has taken his eyes off the timing screen. Christopher Meese is sitting in the car looking hot, but there's a number 2 on the side. You want that number 1 back, and at the moment it's a Lamborghini top of the pile.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I'm just saying that it's all getting very exciting. Your car is second fastest. Can it get back on pole?
Well, I definitely have confidence in the team and Christopher. I think the competition's very hard. The Lamborghini is known to be quick in qualifying. Hopefully we can put a new set of tires and go out and push harder.
You're quite happy then to use some tires just to make sure you get pole, or would you like to keep some, just keep them back for the race? But pole is the honour, isn't it?
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm sure every team shoots for pole position. It's a good start. It gives the team good energy, and I mean, we always push till the end in the race and quali and practice. So hopefully Meese will go out and he'll push harder, and we'll get pole.
Well, we'll wait and watch. Best of luck.
Thank you, thank you.
One of the local drivers who is plying his trade in the Porsche Carrera Cup Middle East, and some success as well, has done for a couple of seasons. And the Saudi Arabian driver, Kingdom of Saudi Arabian driver, it's good to see some local names and faces on the timing screen and in the pit lane, just underlining just how far motorsport has come on in the last few years in this area.
Very much so, and I think this race is actually key to all of that, John.
I agree.
You know, this race has, you know, obviously sparked the interest of the local community, but I think having sparked the interest, it's then cemented something a bit more solid. Have we mentioned the Santa Lock Audi yet? I don't think we have, because it's not been out.
It was having an engine change earlier on. When I had my little pit lane walk, they were frantically... probably about 6 or 7 guys all around the engine bay, and a new one on a trolley ready to install. So that's obviously going to take a fairly long time, and I had my fingers crossed that they'd be out for this session, but it would appear not.
That certainly hasn't been out yet. No.
Maybe it was in their contract that they had to have a new engine at this stage. That would have been the Santa Claus, would it?
Very good. Obviously fairly late delivering that though.
Let's go down to Nick Damon, who is with Rick Broikers in the pit lane.
From the 88 Audi, I went round the back. I said, "Oh, Rick, you've not had a chance in the car, but Rick, you did get a couple of laps, I understand."
Yeah, I got 2 flying laps to see if I could get the time. Unfortunately, both laps I had traffic. I had a good first sector. It was purple for a while. I don't know if it still is, but unfortunately, I couldn't finish the lap. Otherwise, it would have been interesting to see what lap time I could do. But yeah, it is what it is.
It's incredibly competitive. I mean, there's probably 10 cars that with a decent run can take pole.
Yeah, I think that's really nice to see so many pole contestants, and we will see who gets it. I hope my teammate will.
First time we see you this year, obviously, Rick. I mean, I saw you earlier in your Lamborghini overalls. You've got some lovely, fresh Audi ones now. I mean, what is your plans for the rest of the year?
I don't really have any plans yet. Everything still needs to be confirmed, so let's see where we'll end up.
Thanks, Rick. And the 88 car, which was flashing third, that's now engine off, and they're thinking about whether to send it out again. I think this is going to go out the car collection 88 probably in a couple of minutes' time, John.
Nick Dim in the pit lane. Leipert Motorsports, the Lamborghini Super Trofeo, the 710 car, which that's Bumblebee colours. That is so Transformers, that car. I know that was a Camaro, but that's how I'm going to remember that one right across the weekend. The Super Trofeo with the Evo version with a slightly more prominent air intake over the back, a bit more aggressive carbon fibre bodywork, but still nowhere near the kind of downforce that the GT3 Huracan can generate, which makes it insanely quick in a straight line. In the IMSA sanctioned series, regularly quicker in top speed traps than all of the GT3 cars, and often as quick as a GT Le Mans car, a GTE car in a straight line, pulling 179 miles an hour, I think, down the back at Road America, which I think is adequate, Paul.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't losing anything at all as they came into turn one on the screen there behind the Black Falcon Mercedes. Yeah, very rapid car in a straight line, but it loses out as much as anything else through the fast corners, which is where you need the aero, of course, and having to brake a little bit earlier because the aero isn't contributing to the braking effect. Marcus Winkelhock is in the pits, having had another lap disallowed for exceeding track limits at turn 5 this time, and that's denied him third place in the standings, because without that time being, or if that time had been allowed, 1:58.001, Marcus Winkelhock would be third, but he's actually fourth with a 1:58.071. Just 7/100ths of a second of a difference, but 7/100ths of a difference that makes a difference between third and fourth on the grid. 12 minutes just over still remaining. Mirko Bortolotti has done a 57.960 to be quickest, by 3/100ths of a second ahead of Christopher Mies in the WRT Audi. He's done a 1:57.998. That's 63 and 7 first and second. Christopher Haase then next up in third place, car number 88. He's, as we've been hearing, in the pits with the car collection car. Marcus Winkelhock also in the pits with the Muka Motorsport Audi in fourth because of disallowed times. Fifth on an outlap at the moment is number 99, the Attempto Racing Audi, which I seem to remember was your tip, wasn't it, John? Or was it Johnny's tip? The 99 Audi. I think it was Heintoff's tip who said he was looking out for that car.
Yeah.
So that's currently in the hands of Klaus Bachler. And
it's half the field you have to keep an eye on here, though. That's the problem, isn't it?
Brilliant. Yes, and it'll be a great race.
Dennis Lynn, by the way, suffering with a problem with the number 12 Target Racing Lamborghini. He spent much of this current lap doing it at about half speed, with the indicator winking right to warn everybody that he's got the problem and to stay to the left side, the safer side. But I wouldn't be surprised to see car 12 visiting the pit lane at the end of this lap.
That's another car that's had a time disallowed, and indeed it was his best time that was disallowed. He'd be a place up further up the grid if he were. He's currently 10th behind Matteo Malicelli, but that is only because, as I say, he's had a time disallowed.
Yeah, it's never your worst lap that they want to disallow, is it? Never, ever. No, I tell you what, we're going to take that rubbish lap away from you and give you 20 seconds back.
Well, it all depends.
Problem for the 454. This is a Mercedes or an AMG, the QSR Racing School. Often in earlier guys, that team, the Belgian team, ran BMW M235i's, and the 454 car is the GT4 version. Sitting in third in class, 41st, but rather considerately, its driver has put the four-way flashes on. This is another car with sort of multicoloured tiles on the back of it, and red and blue racing stripes over the top of a very busy but distinctive colour scheme, Paul.
Yeah, it's Rodrigue Guillon at the wheel at the moment, he who has the number plate on the back. And Rodrigue, one of the pupils, if you will, of the QSR Racing School. He's being tutored by Nico Verdonk, who's another of the drivers in the car, but clearly all the tutoring in the world isn't going to help him in that car at the moment.
Now what he's tutoring him is how to push a lot of buttons.
In the right order, yes.
Yes. Exactly so.
That's just at the entrance to the pits, and there is a rescue unit in situ already, although it's behind the car rather than in front of the car, which is in a position of protecting it. We haven't gone code 60, but as I say, there is a yellow flag just at the entrance to the pit lane.
Sicily Motorsport currently leading the AMG GT4 class with the 462, and it would seem that our provisional pole pit sitter, Bruce Jones, is not content with the time.
Not content at all. A very, very quick tyre change for that. I just looked at the trolley, saw 63 written on the stack of tyres. I thought, aha, it's not good enough. So Mirko gone back out, and he's not comfortable. But don't forget, he took pole last year. Then in the race, they had all those punctures. But right now, he's only concerned about pole, going back out.
Overtaking under a yellow, 488 and 462 there. They might be in trouble for that. Two of the Mercedes with a... Now, in their defence, there was the car in front was slowing down to go into the pits, but they were 3 wide for a moment, going past the recovery of that other Mercedes that we mentioned a moment ago, the Guillon car. As we count down, just under 8 minutes to go in this session.
I'm still laughing because John was struggling to find the clock then, and it's in large numbers right in front of him. Frank Bird was one of those Mercedes in 462. I think the other one was 488.
Correct.
So that will have been Phil Quaife. Let's have a look then. So the black
it's the
and red
405
Mercedes
that's going in, and there's a pass right at the yellow flag.
Yeah, but as you say, he's not in the pit lane yet.
Nah. I think at this stage, wrap on the wrist, but I don't think the times have been improved. Might just have a little talking to by Martin van der Paff at the clerk of the course.
That was Gabriele Piana, former winner of this race, peeling off into the pit lane in car 405, and then Phil Quaife jostling with Frank Bird in their Mercedes GT4s.
Another car with problems is the 999, which is not the first time we've seen that car. This has got the new rear end on it. The unpainted Valence went into the wall early this morning, and at the end of the back straight, in the braking area, down to the slowest corner, very slow, offline, but with the four-way flashes on. Winkelhock is back out and trying to stay out of the way. As through goes the 462 of Sicily Motorsport, one of the GT4 cars. Winkelhock realises it's a GT4 car, immediately puts the BWT Monkey Motorsport number 9, the orange machine, back in front. Now he's dropped down to fourth, or should I say he's come back up to fourth position because he had so many laps deleted. He's trying to find himself a bit of a gap at the moment. He's all the way down into first position on the penultimate corner. The last time we took a lap with him, he put the car on pole, then he lost that lap for track limits. Now he's coming around to the final corner in second gear, trying to find a bit of space. Sun beginning to become an issue now. Third, fourth, as he goes across the line, snatches fifth gear, heads down towards the first corner. He's still moving left and right, trying to get some heat, or maybe trying to clean up the Hankook tyres. Down into turn one, down to second gear, tries to get the nose of the Lamborghini into that corner, but it's not wanting to play at the moment for the driver of the number 9, Marcus Winkelhock. Now pushing through the chicane. This is where he lost a lap before through turn 5. Holds the car in third through turn 6. No, he's got to go down to second as he pulls it in for the second apex. Yep, that's exactly the right thing to do.
Meanwhile, Klaus Bachler in another Audi, the Attempto Racing Audi, has just done the fastest time of anybody through the first sector. So Klaus Bachler, more synonymous with Porsches really, but Attempto Racing, he has raced the Audis before, and 99, one to look out for as we head into the final 5 minutes of the session.
Winkelhock not trying to improve at the moment. I still think he's trying to find some grip out there.
I think he's looking for a gap in the traffic as well, John. So there goes he. Christopher Haase is now quickest. And
in the orange and black 88.
In the orange, yeah, in the other, in the 88.
Another tangerine card.
Absolutely.
This is the year of the tangerine.
Maybe. This is the car collection car, though, rather than Muka Motorsport.
Yeah, they're both in the same, similar colours, but 88 being the car collection car is just down at 57.635. So Bortolotti was right to be worried, and he needs to get out. We've got 4 minutes of the session still to go.
By the way, I think I tried to put Marcus Winkelhock in a Lamborghini. Of course he's not, he's in an Audi. But the interiors look similar as well. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Klaus Bachler was not able to translate that opening sector where he went fastest into a better lap through all 3 sectors. In fact, no improvement for the Austrian, so that car remaining its best lap of 158.221.
Here's the drivers who are out and trying to improve. Christopher Haase in the 88. Mirko Bortolotti has just lost pole position in the 63, the Grasser Lamborghini. That is the Lamborghini. Chris Mason, Audi number 7. Marcus Winkelhock, Audi number 9. Finally finds some space towards the top end of the circuit, and he may just be coming onto the start-finish line. He is now. Then Bachler, then the 18. That's the Corvette, Duncan Hysom. Jerome Blekemolen. Well, he's not known for driving slowly either, is he? Ahead of Christian Frankenhout. Then Dennis Lind, Jelmer Berman. Matteo Maloscelli, Indy Doncia. That's your top 12 at the moment.
Jelmer Berman, another one who's suffered from having times disallowed. He'd set a 58.159, but that was disallowed, so he's having to rely on a 58.4. Well, only just over two tenths of a second, but it makes the difference of 8 places. So Jelmer Berman would be 5th on his time that had it not been disallowed, but as he is, as John just said, he's down in 10th place.
2.5 minutes to go, and Marcus Winkelhock has manufactured himself a bit of space on the circuit, gets a lovely exit onto the back straight, just about keeps the left-hand side. Hankook's inside the white line, but the right-hand side ones were all the way onto the red marker paint. Down the middle of the back straight, that red marker paint turns to green, so that people know which part of the circuit they're on. Down to the slowest corner, all the way to first. Ooh, did not quite get to the apex there, but I don't think it's cost him too much time. Now through the left-handed king, climbing all the time now. Got a bit of traffic ahead of him, so he comes up to turn number 12, turns it in. Sun in the eyes there might make things difficult. Now starts to gather speed very, very quickly as after he's got across the top of the hill at 12 through 13.
We're expecting Mirko Bortolotti across the line, and he goes to pole position by nearly 2 tenths of a second. So Bortolotti could be on course here for back-to-back pole positions in the Dubai 24 hours, a 157.446 as he turned every sector green, and in fact the last sector went purple.
Winkelhock, no prisoners taken there with one of the BMWs ahead of him, one of the M4 GT4 cars, I think it was, as he comes through the final corner. An exaggerated movement of the hand as Marcus Winkelhock changes gear. He stretches his fingers out and then snatches the gear, but it's back to green. Green is at the top, and it's the green of Grasser Racing Team and the Lamborghini Huracan GT1 with pole position at the moment.
Yeah, Mirko Bortolotti, it's in the Italians' hands right now. We're into the final minute, and will Mirko manage to eke 1 extra lap out of this? Probably not, but he's improved again on this 19th lap of the session for the number 63 green GRT Grasser Lamborghini. Second fastest, Christopher Haase in the number 88 car collection Audi, 0.189 of a second slower. Christopher Mies in the number 7 MS7 by WRT Audi is in 3rd position, as there's been an off-track moment for the Black Falcon number 3 car, currently being driven by Jerome Blekemolen. He's now in the pits though, and Mercedes might be scratching their heads a little bit here, because still the best car from the Mercedes brand is 6th fastest, although that does represent improvement from Jelmer Berman.
Absolutely, yes. Having had his, well, he would have been 5th, but he's had his best time now. He's bettered the time that was disallowed, so 58.144.
Checker flag is out, Paul. So this is the last lap for Christopher Haase. He's got a clean track on the back straight. Oh no, and just as he crests the rise, I see 1, 2, 3 cars ahead. He goes to the apex much earlier than we saw Winkelhock earlier on, and it's the green number 2 Mercedes that he has to get around in that tricky little left-hander. I think it cost him a little time, but not too much. Now up to the top of the hill at turn 12. Doesn't get to the apex there. Maybe just got some dirt on the Hankook tyres, and that 88 looks a little difficult to drive. Now down through 13. Easy flat through here. 5th gear just on the turn-in. Let the car drift wide and then pull it back for the first of effectively 2 apeces, excuse me, in turn 14. Maybe get a little bit of grip on the front end from the rumble strip on the left-hand side. Throw it across the second to last left-hander, and now down into 16 again, turning in quite early in the car collection motorsport number 88. Is Haase going to improve? Second position at the moment. He's close to his best time as he comes through. Is it enough, Johnny?
It's not an improvement. In fact, he was 7/10 of a second shy of his previous best, so that will surely lock in a Lamborghini for the second year running.
Berman's still out there, but he's late on his time as well in the number 2 car. He's
well
the
off
one
in the middle sector.
Yeah, he pulled over to let the 88 through. That was very kind driving by Jelmer Berman in the green green Mercedes-Benz.
So it is going to be a Lamborghini Huracan on pole position for the 2019 Dubai 24 Hours.
On his way back into the pit lane now. We'll get an interview with Bruce in a moment. Whilst we do that, let's have the SPX pole sitter. Here's Nick Damon.
With car. Oh, just get this way. Frederick, fantastic performance there, and 2 seconds quicker than the second fastest car.
Yeah, that's quite amazing. The car was really good, and we really tried a lot of different setup before this qualifying, and I think we find a very good solution. But now, you know, when you could feel there was a bit more in the car, and you still want to be like top 12, we could have been if I get the clean lap, but it's very difficult when we are a lot of cars. But that's the same for everyone, so I can't blame anyone for that. But it was a really nice try, and the qualifying is amazing here on the track.
Fantastic, Tony. That's the SPX pole. It's the 710 machine. It's the Lamborghini of, I must get his name correctly pronounced. It's Frederick Schandorf, the 710. 2 seconds faster, John.
For Leipert Motorsport in the Super Trofeo Evo, and Lamborghini on to the top of the shop as well, as just touring in there. One of the BMWs looked to be less than optimal in terms of engine, gearbox and wheels connected together. 63 then into the line for post-qualifying scrutineering. The car looking relatively in good shape, just a little bit of rubber marks out. Gets Mirko Bortolotti wide-eyed. How does he look so cool, calm and collected? That's extraordinary. It's hot out there. He's just driven a tremendous lap at 1:57.446, the better part, Johnny, of 0.2 of a second away from Christopher Haas, Christopher Mies and Marcus Winkelhock, all trailing in his wake.
All about that 5.2-litre V10 engine, though, isn't it? And
good point. Top 4 all the same engine and gearbox.
Top 5, I think it is. Yes. Yeah, it's clearly a very good block, that, and has had some development work over the last year or so. But the Audi's still in their Evo spec, remember, not able to be quicker than a older shaped or older designed Lamborghini Huracan.
Let's go down to Bruce Jones, who has the pole sitter for the Hankook 24 Hours of Dubai 2019.
Congratulations, Mirko Bortolotti. Pole in 2018, pole in 2019, but you had to work for that one.
Oh yeah, sure. You always have to work for a pole position, especially in such a tight field and competitive race like it is here. So yeah, I'm really happy. It's the third time I come to Dubai and start 3 times in the first row, taking 2 poles. Unfortunately, I couldn't beat last year's record, but still, it was a great lap. I think the track was generally slower compared to last year. That's why the lap times are probably slower. Yeah, we really got everything out of the car. Really happy. Had a good lap. Got lucky with the traffic. Didn't hit any traffic in front of me, so I had a clean one and could finish it. And yeah, great way to start the season. Really happy.
Well done, Mirko. And don't forget, of course, this year, no cut tyres, please.
Yeah, exactly. That was our weak point last year, unfortunately.
let's try to have a clean race without punctures this time, and try to fight until the end for the win. That's the main target.
First target hit, well done.
Let's quickly go to Nick Damon for another pole sitter.
With Dennis Lin, took the A6 pole, another Lamborghini success. A great day for the Lamborghinis.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy. I really didn't expect to qualify in top 5. We've been struggling a little bit. For me, it's the first time here in Dubai. It's a fantastic venue, but a very technical track, very hard, and some very, very good drivers in front of me, so I'm very pleased with this position.
Great to say, thank you very much for talking to us. Cheers, mate.
That's the 5th position, Target Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3 A6 pole sitter behind GRT Grasser Racing Team, Car Collection Motorsport, MS7 by WRT and BWT Motorsport by Muka. That is, as Johnny said, your top 5, all with the same drivetrain, either Lamborghinis or Audi R8s. Marvellous stuff. Best the Mercedes, only in 6th position. It is the Black Falcon, number 2 in 5th position in A6 Pro, 6th overall. And the rest of the top 10 all made up by A6 GT3 cars. That's a pretty good run by the Chevy Corvette C6 ZR1 from V8 Racing. That, remember, the oldest car in that group, having started life as a GT2 car. As we look further down the timings, Johnny, we'll pick up a few more of the pole sitters.
So A6 Pro, A6 Am dealt with. SPX, that goes the way of the Lippert Motorsport Lamborghini, another Lamborghini.
Yes.
So the first three pole positions you find from that session, they're all the Raging Bull.
Well, it's rampant. I'm not sure about it raging, but the bull is rampant.
Frederick Scharndorf, who we heard talking to Nick Damon a little while ago in the 710 car. So that SPX car qualifying ahead of 701 and the 990. In the 991 class, Benny Simonsen, we mentioned him during the session, the 916 car, fastest in a very competitive-looking 991 division for Porsche Cup cars, but Benny's time at 202.636 gave him 25th place overall. In GT4, it was the Frank Bird Mercedes 462. He was one of a couple of Mercedes, maybe a little suspect overtaking as a car was recovered from turn 15, but a 208.837 still stands nevertheless for the Brit, and that is the Sicily Motorsport entered AMG GT4. A class of 13 cars. And that is it as far as your class pole positions are concerned. We didn't at any stage see the Santalot Racing Audi because of that engine change. I'm going to guess. We need to confirm what exactly the problem is for that car. And there was another car late to join the session, but it looked like it did in the end because the only non-starter for qualifying in the GT Series was car 26. So 40th position represents pole position for GT4, car 462. And who have we got queued up behind that on the grid? It'll be Michael Schrei's number 50, Hoffer Racing BMW M4, ahead of 2 more three-pointed stars from QSR Racing School and ERC Sport.
Dragon Racing won't be overly happy with the 488 Mercedes that far down the GT4 category.
6th place, yeah.
They're a team that are based here at the track. And
that interestingly, John, is the cut-off point where the TCE cars would have come had it been a normal qualifying session. So
really?
So the bottom 10 are all slower than the TCE pole.
And confirmation then that the Santalot Audi R8 did not get out engine problems for their car. Thanks to Nick, to Bruce and to Joe Bradley down in the pit lane, to our colleagues at 022 for the pictures. Let's just remind ourselves of some of the action from the qualifying session that we've just had here at Dubai. And what a cracker it was, Johnny, with the lead at the top of the standings changing several times. Started off for the TCE cars in quite bright conditions when they went out, and the early pace set by the Colin White machine, but that's the Ginetta, of course, but it was soon the touring cars that started to challenge around there. Not everybody having a good run though, the 121 Volkswagen with issues, but try as they might, those TCR cars could not match Colin White's Ginetta pace.
No, and we always said it was going to be a close fight between an SP3 pole sitter potentially and the TCR brigade. Sadly, that is the only SP3 car that seems to be able to take the fight to the TCR entry, and it'll be interesting to see whether they can sustain that over a stint and over the full race distance. But Colin White's car sadly going up in a massive cloud of smoke in Barcelona. Hopefully some of that Ginetta was retrievable, but it's a brand new car this weekend in 378. On to the GT series we went, a 45-minute session once again, and some fabulous machines involved with this, including the number 11 Scuderi Praha with Bohemia Energy Ferrari 488. The Bumblebee liveried Lamborghini Evo taking pole position in SPX. It was a great run as well from the 88 Car Collection Motorsports Audi R8 of Rick Brokers and Dimitri Parhofer, together with Christopher Haase, who did much of the session, and Frederick Verviche represents the fourth driver in that combination of pro, semi-pro and AM drivers. As you say, though, it took some trying from Mirko Bortolotti, because he had a great stack of Audis to get ahead of, plus all the Mercedes, of course.
Yeah, and don't forget, we had a number of people with laps that were disallowed for track limits as well. But it is Grasser Racing and Mirko Bortolotti back-to-back pole positions for the Hankook 24H here in Dubai. And we'll be back for night practice here a little later on, just before 7 o'clock local time. That is just before 4 o'clock Central European time. Have a look at the website or at radiolemans.com. If you scroll down to the bottom, you'll see the times changed into your browser time. On behalf of the whole team here, well, the competition was hot. The track looked great, and we've set the grid for the Hankook 24H of Dubai 2019. We'll have the full race live on Friday and Saturday, but come back and join us for one of my favourite sessions of the whole weekend. It's night practice when we come back to Dubai live here on the network.